Have you ever met someone for the very first time and felt like they could see straight into your heart? 3 years ago, I sat alone at a small cafe, staring at a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. My blind date was 30 minutes late. I was seconds away from leaving when a woman finally walked through the door, looked directly at me, smiled softly, and said something I would never forget. "You have kind eyes." What happened after that changed two lives forever. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more heartwarming stories about kindness, hope, and the incredible connections that can change our lives. At the time, I was 34 years old and living a quiet life. I worked as an accountant in a small company. My days were predictable. Wake up, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch television, and sleep. Most people thought I was doing fine. The truth was different. 2 years earlier, I had lost my mother after a long illness. She had been my best friend. After she passed away, the world felt colder. I stopped going out with friends. I stopped trying new things. I spent most evenings alone. One day, my coworker Sarah told me she was tired of seeing me spend every lunch break by myself. "You need to meet someone," she said. I laughed. "No one wants to date a boring accountant." "That's not true," she replied. "You're one of the nicest people I know." A week later, she convinced me to try a blind date. The woman was named Emily. I didn't know what she looked like. I only knew she worked at a local library and loved books. The date was set for Saturday afternoon at a cozy cafe downtown. I arrived 15 minutes early because I was nervous. I ordered coffee and waited. 15 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. I checked my phone. No messages. No explanation. I felt embarrassed. People around me were chatting and laughing while I sat alone at a table for two. I sighed and stood up. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she saw me through the window and decided to leave. I was reaching for my jacket when the cafe door opened. A woman hurried inside. She looked around the room until her eyes found mine. Then she smiled. Not a polite smile. Not an awkward smile. A genuine smile. She walked over to my table. "I'm so sorry," she said. "The bus broke down." I sat back down. "It's okay." Then she looked at me for a moment. Her smile grew wider. "You have kind eyes." I was completely caught off guard. No one had ever said that to me before. I laughed nervously. "That's probably the strangest compliment I've ever received." "Maybe," she said. "But it's true." For some reason, those words stayed with me. The date started slowly. We talked about books. We talked about our jobs. We talked about our favorite childhood memories. As the conversation continued, something felt different. There was no pressure. No pretending. No trying to impress each other. It felt like talking to an old friend. At one point, an elderly man entered the cafe using a walker. The room was crowded. There were no empty tables. Without hesitation, Emily stood up and offered him her chair. The man thanked her. She simply smiled and stood beside the table until another seat became available. It was a small act. Most people probably didn't notice. But I did. Later, as we walked through a nearby park, I asked why she did it. She shrugged. "My grandmother always taught me that kindness is free." That sentence sounded simple. But she said it like she truly believed it. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I continued seeing each other. The more time we spent together, the more examples of kindness I noticed. She remembered the names of cashiers. She carried extra granola bars in her bag for homeless people. She volunteered at the library every weekend, helping children learn to read. She never talked about these things as accomplishments. To her, they were just normal. One rainy evening, we were walking home after dinner when we noticed a young woman sitting alone at a bus stop. She was crying. Most people walked past without stopping. Emily immediately went over to her. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. The woman explained that her phone battery had died. Her wallet had been stolen. She had no way to contact her family. Without hesitation, Emily handed over her own phone. For nearly 20 minutes, she stood in the rain while the stranger called her parents. When the woman's father arrived, he hugged his daughter tightly. They both thanked Emily again and again. As we continued walking, I asked if she ever worried about being taken advantage of. She thought for a moment. "Sometimes." "Then why do it?" She smiled. "Because most people aren't looking for someone to use. They're looking for someone to care." That answer stayed with me. Months passed. Our relationship grew stronger. For the first time since losing my mother, I felt happy again. Emily had a way of bringing light into dark places. Then one afternoon, everything changed. I received a phone call at work. My younger brother had been injured in a serious car accident. I rushed to the hospital. The next few days were terrifying. Doctors weren't sure how long his recovery would take. My family was exhausted. We barely slept. Throughout it all, Emily remained by our side. She brought meals. She sat with my father when he needed company. She spent hours talking with nurses and helping organize schedules. One night, I found her sitting alone in the hospital waiting room. She looked exhausted. "You should go home," I told her. She shook her head. "Not until your family is okay." I looked at her and realized something. Kindness wasn't something she did occasionally. It was part of who she was. My brother eventually recovered. Life slowly returned to normal. But I never forgot what Emily had done for us. A year later, I decided it was time to propose. I spent weeks planning everything. I chose a beautiful park where we often walked together. I bought a ring. I practiced my speech. When the day arrived, I was nervous. As we strolled through the park, I dropped to one knee. Emily immediately started crying. Before I could even finish my speech, she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. People nearby applauded. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. But the story doesn't end there. A few months after our engagement, something unexpected happened. One Saturday morning, Emily and I were having breakfast when she received a message from the library. A teenage boy she had helped years earlier wanted to speak with her. We met him that afternoon. His name was Daniel. He was 17 years old. At first, he seemed nervous. Then he handed Emily a letter. Inside was a scholarship acceptance notice. Daniel explained that he had struggled with reading when he was younger. Many people assumed he wasn't smart. Some even laughed at him. But Emily spent months helping him improve. She encouraged him when he wanted to quit. She celebrated every small success. Now he had earned a scholarship to attend college. "I wouldn't be here without you," he told her. Emily wiped tears from her eyes. "So many people helped you." Daniel shook his head. "Maybe. But you're the one who believed in me." On the drive home, neither of us spoke much. We were both emotional. Finally, I looked at her. "Do you realize how many lives you've changed?" She stared out the window. "I don't know. I think you've changed more lives than you realize." She smiled softly. "Maybe kindness works like that." "What do you mean?" "You never really know how far it travels." Years have passed since that first blind date. Today, Emily is my wife. We have a beautiful daughter. And every now and then, when life becomes stressful or difficult, I think back to that afternoon in the cafe. I remember sitting alone with a cold cup of coffee. I remember feeling disappointed and ready to leave. And I remember a woman walking through the door 30 minutes late. A woman who looked at me and said, "You have kind eyes." At the time, I thought she was simply being nice. Now I understand something deeper. She wasn't just seeing who I was. She was seeing who I could become. Because kindness changes people. It changed Daniel. It changed my family. And it changed me. Before meeting Emily, I believed kindness was something small. A polite gesture. A friendly smile. Now I know better. Kindness can heal broken hearts. It can give hope to someone who feels invisible. It can remind a struggling person that they matter. The beautiful thing is that it doesn't require wealth, power, or special talent. Anyone can do it. A kind word. A helping hand. A few minutes of genuine attention. These simple actions can create ripples that travel farther than we ever imagine. So if you're watching this today, remember that you may have more influence than you realize. Someone around you might be carrying a burden you cannot see. Someone might be waiting for a reason to believe in people again. And your kindness could be that reason. Because sometimes the smallest act of compassion becomes the most important moment in someone's life. And sometimes, all it takes to change a life is seeing the good in another person and choosing to care. Just like one woman did on a blind date that started 30 minutes late and became the beginning of a beautiful future. Kindness costs nothing, but its value is beyond measure. And the wonderful thing is that every single one of us has enough to give.